Waterboy Joe, as you're affectionately known now. Who would have known you'd come out with a nickname from that show?
Right out the gate, you're going to do it. Might as well do it right.
Absolutely. Okay, so this is our first coaching session for the mental side. We've been in some communication on kind of your practice and things like that. So we'll let that just be over there so we can really focus this time on what's going on in the game.
Okay.
With your thoughts and feelings. And the first place I wanted to start based on your intake form was you mentioned that once you get into bracket, things change. So in terms of your performance, so I wanted to find out, do you notice that you have an actual different feeling? Like, do you feel different in terms of whether it's more nervous or et cetera? Or do you feel the same and you're surprised by the results changing?
Definitely feeling, and part of that may come from who I'm getting paired with. If I mean, everyone has their own club that they normally play at, and sometimes you get to know the people who are there and everything. And sometimes, depending on where the split is, the B player may be somebody that you're like, okay, maybe they're just having an off night, but they're typically an A player, or like this person's pretty good. So when sometimes if I see who my partner is, then it's like, you know what, I maybe don't have to play my best because I know they'll pick me up at the other end. Where there's other nights where I look at it and I'm like, I have to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're going to throw 4s against 6s and 7s, I have to throw 12s and 10s against 9s and 8s in order to score points. So I think I put extra pressure on myself if I don't know the person or know exactly how they throw, or I've never thrown with them, kind of in the sense that, okay, it's on me, and but yeah, it's goofy. Rounders, there's joking, there's laughing, I'm talking, having a good time, just trying to throw the bags in the hole. And then come bracket play, I think my focus changes to DPR as opposed to PPR. And as long as I'm beating my opponent in my head, I'm like, okay, well, I can go ahead and try to win this game. But it's also frustrating because if you work your tail off during rounders, throwing these 10s, these 9s, high to mid 9s, 10s, and then you're throwing 7-7-5 and 8-2-5s in bracket play. It balances out to be like 8.5, and it's like, that's not really me. I should be better than this. And why I decide to play a certain way during bracket play as opposed to just let me just run bags, I don't know why I do that.
I think we need to separate out our local nights, regionals, and opens.
Okay, that's fair.
Because first of all, we're preparing for the Cleveland Open, which means it's a BYOP, right? So
Yep.
you know your partner, and that's a different energy. So I'm going to spend like a few minutes on local play, and then we're going to spend the majority of the time on that. So
Sure.
one thing I'm wondering for not just you, but for anybody who's listening is, what's the goal of your local? What's your personal goal when you go play your local blind draws, switches, swaps, whatever? Like when you go into that night, what's the goal to go there?
Top PPR during rounders, and then get the podium first, second, or third.
Because it does what for you? How
Uh,
is that helping you with your overall goal of wanting to be the best cornhole player or whatever your goal is?
sure. So for rounders, having top PPR, there's some really good throwers there, and so it's okay. I've proven to myself, I've proven to them that, okay, if I have to throw against Joe, there's going to be, I have to make them work. Is kind of my mindset. Is I try to.
Let me pause you there. Let's pretend there's nobody else in the room, which I know is impossible. Like,
Okay.
what's your personal goal for why you go? We're not taking into consideration what other people are going to think or notice or whatever, but just like, why even go? Like, what is it doing for you? How is it benefiting you to go and play on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night versus a regional or an open or a big event?
Right. Okay. So for me, I guess then I am using that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever it is, local, to mentally and I guess physically prepare for a Saturday regional, a Saturday open. So if in my mind, if I'm like, okay, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday during rounders, whatever it was, I was top 3 in the PPRs, then it's like, okay, I feel good about my form, feel good about everything. And this is what I expect of myself when I go to an open, when I go to a regional, I
So
guess.
I think that we really need to let go. I mean, we need to let go of winning always because we don't control the outcome, but we especially need to let go of the outcome at a local night because there's way too many variables that you don't have any control over in terms of the things you would normally have control over when you
Okay.
go to these bigger events. So it's silly. It's silly to get attached to outcomes and even how you're measuring up against other people because as you know you could have a random pro show up and then that's going to change where you're at in the rankings, right? So um, as much as possible, let's take our local nights and literally the only goal there is just for you to slightly, well, I'll say meet and slightly push your personal PRs. So I don't. That could be that could be PPR. It could be DPR. I don't. Whatever you want to focus on. Um, but
Okay.
nothing else matters. On the outcome doesn't matter. The winning doesn't matter. Who you're throwing with doesn't matter. Who you're throwing against doesn't matter. Those nights are purely just like I don't know what number. Like, can you throw me a number of what would be a good goal to hit?
Uh, I want to say just consistency. So if I threw a 975,
Okay,
for the entire night, I would be very, very happy.
perfect. So we're going to make the goal to throw a 9.75 on the night. Nothing else matters. I don't care who your partner is in bracket. I don't think if you got the brand new person that can't even hit the board. None of that matters. All that matters is that you get as close to you as you possibly can to a 9.75 every time you throw.
Okay.
And let's let that be all that those nights are for. And also, I don't know, this is a novel idea. What if you threw in a night where you just had fun? Where you weren't competing at all. You just literally, if you like to drink, have a few beers, throw some bags, and let go of any kind of attachment to anything, needing anything to happen, perform nothing. It's literally just the same as if you were playing, I don't know, go fish with your buddy. Like, just
Gotcha.
who cares? I like the idea of sprinkling that in. I'm not going to force it because I know different personalities really, really struggle with that. And I don't know if that's something that's achievable in this short amount of time, but I'll just recommend it. You take
Okay.
that and do whatever you want with it. But the very least, your local nights, if you are going to make them truly competitive and not for being social and fun, then make sure that competition is only with yourself and nobody else.
Perfect.
So we'll table that and leave that over there.
Okay.
Moving on to events when you do have you, so you're playing singles and doubles, I'm assuming, in Cleveland, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you feel like one of those needs more attention, equal attention?
Probably singles, just because I believe at least tier 1, which I believe is what I'm going to be throwing, even though the CPI is tier 2, but I'm going to be playing tier 1. In tier 1 singles, I believe I have not won a game yet.
Perfect. Okay.
I think I've gotten up to like 16, 17 points, give or take. But yeah, I don't know if it's just because I try to focus a lot more on doubles and throw an outside arm, that one arm favors, the
So are
other.
you hitting your numbers the way you think you should and losing, or are you way underperforming?
I think I'm probably throwing well. It's just the people I'm throwing with are better.
Then
Yeah,
then that is what it is,
yeah,
right?
yeah, and yeah, absolutely. Now, I'd probably say the 975 in singles, that might be that's probably gonna maybe go down by at least a half a point or something, probably about low nines.
Okay.
But yeah, and those are the cases where I think the one time I went 21 rounds through a 10 and a half, the guy threw a 10-8-9. So it's like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
I can't be upset at that, especially personally, and I think I scored 10 points that round. And I've been on
Yeah.
the other end of that where I've thrown really, really well, or the guy I was throwing against, or the lady I was throwing against threw really well. I just happened to be a half point above
Yeah.
them. And so I see that kind of happening both ways, especially in singles.
Yeah. So as you are working your way through singles, if you're getting close to your numbers of where you think they should be and getting beat, if you're consistently hitting those numbers, then there's nothing to do there. That's just time, right? You're gonna keep pushing that ceiling as time goes on, and that's what the practice is for, and that's what the just time, like literally, we can't fast forward time unless you were like, I'm going to spend the next year throwing 6 hours a day. That you could fast forward time that way, but that's a crazy thing to do. And people did it in COVID. I know, because we had it, but you don't have to do that. You don't have to grind 6 hours a day. You could just let the years go by and let you work there at a normal pace. But if you feel like, oh, well, I throw really well to a point, and then X, Y, or Z triggers a poor performance, that is something we can work with, so that at least you're consistently throwing at those numbers that you think you should be.
Okay.
So
Absolutely.
is that happening? Are there things that trigger underperforming in singles, or do you feel like you're pretty consistently performing and you just need time to catch up to some of the better players?
I think I think it's just probably a little bit of time. I know sometimes external factors like board speeds tend to be one. Obviously, going different places, they're going to be depending on how many people, the humidity, the weather outside. All those are factors and stuff. And it seems like when the boards tend to slow down is when I struggle, because what I think is a perfect bag usually ends up as like a level 1.5 block. So
Yeah.
now I'm having to push through it, as opposed to, just running bags, or what I think is going to be a hard shot, my bag will hit and kick because of the tackiness of the boards. And I typically don't make like bag switches, because usually a lot of mine are around the same speed, usually that
Yeah.
that 5.8, 5.9 ish. But yeah, other than the boards, which everyone's playing on them, you know what I mean? So that's why I
Yeah.
hate using that, is everyone plays on the same
Yeah,
board.
but the difference is everybody has different levels of adjustment. So if it
Sure.
were me and I had that issue where I knew board speed was a massive, it got in the way of my performance, then I would be at home practicing on slow boards. I don't know how you do that, but I try to find a way to make them slower, so that you could rep what's going to change, because something about your normal throw has to change.
Right.
Whether you switch bags and now you have a different feeling in your hand, different speed in your hand, that changes things, or whether you have to actually throw the bag differently, harder, lower, whatever. That's no different than you saying, well, I've never tried cutting before, but then I was in a tournament and I just tried to cut and it didn't work. It's like, well, duh. So, that's a different shot. So
Okay.
essentially, you have to change something about your normal automation, just slide down the center hole throw, then that has to be repped somehow, so that oh, because of this, I just do this. And that is now something I'm confident in making that switch. So whether that's you rep a faster bag, you find a bag and you rep that out, and I'm comfortable with these bags when the board speeds are this, or you change your mechanics for that type. That's how I would approach that in looking at the mechanic side of things, because what you don't want is, and that's if it's truly a hindrance. Some people, if there's not, they think, oh, it's a slow board or fast board, I'm going to suck. Like, that's different. But you're talking about, no, that there's actually a different experience physically with what's happening on the boards. And so that has to be practiced, so you know how to deal with it. And that's where I'm saying it's not always equal, because yes, the boards are slow for everybody, but some people prefer slow boards. So now they have an advantage. And some
Right.
people have repped a different set of bags for that board. So then they're an advantage. So you're still at a disadvantage because you don't have either. So it's essentially like a different shot in a way, oddly enough. And so that's not going to fix itself overnight. But I think what I would do in that position is I would say, okay, in the past, these aren't my ideal board conditions. So I'm just going to do the very best I can. And I'm just going to give myself some grace. And at least that removes the stress, the pressure, the worry. No different than If you were a brand new player and there's zero expectations, right? Nobody expects you to perform when you're new. You're like, I'm just trying to get the bag anywhere near the board. And, nobody really cares. And you're not expecting a great performance from yourself, but in a good way, not like in a tearing myself apart, just like, I just throwing the bag and like, I hope it gets there. And I kind of understand what I'm doing. You're kind of doing that in a way where you're just like, well, okay, these aren't like the ideal conditions for me. So I'm just going to, see what happens and do the best I can and try to, practice what it looks like to throw on slow boards. Like you just give yourself a lot more freedom there.
Perfect.
But don't kind of hold yourself with the same expectation of, when things are going your way. And that only works if you truly do have lower expectations. You can't like fake it and be like, oh, I don't really think I'm going to do well. Like, no, if you do, you do. If you don't, you don't. There's no tricking your brain. It is what it is.
Right.
And then on the side, be practicing a way to get through that limitation for yourself. So it's no longer a limitation. You want to remove all those limitations, right? As much as possible.
Perfect.
So those are real things. But yeah, if the only limitation to your game is something physical when it comes to singles, then that's essentially all you do there. And we'll move on to doubles. So, when I was looking at your intake form, and you're talking about how things change in bracket, are you only referring to when you're in a situation where there's the variables of like a local night, or are you seeing that in a BYOP with your preferred partner as well?
So with the BYOPs, typically there's not rounders. So, I mean, we are right into it. So it kind of is just hitting the ground running. So I guess more along the lines and I think this will be my first time playing doubles at an open where there will be rounders. Four, 6. Okay. Yeah. So, I guess translating from the local to, where I just try to, okay, I'm just trying to make every bag, just trying to go and hoping that translates over. But yeah, typically when we go right into it, my mindset is like, okay, I have to, I want to get the bags back to my partner, Zimmy, because I know, especially since we use his bags, he knows what they do, how they cut, how they move. And to a degree, I know how the bag will react when I throw. But I'm also thinking, okay, let me see, who the person I'm throwing against, is their first bag to the left, to the right? And is it like, okay, now I can make this hurt by making they missed, let me go in. Are they using the fast side? Are they just going to go in and run bag? So should I throw a block to try to, mess that up? And so I have all these things that I'm thinking about instead of just throwing the bag into the hole. And I think to a degree, a lot of that stuff might be able to be useful but I don't know how much of that is actually interfering with me just putting the bag in the hole.
Well, very rarely do you need to think about situations. If a bag is to the left, how many times has that happened? Or there are plenty of bags to the left, right? So you should have an automatic reaction to that by now. So we really want to try to create these automatic responses because I can't remember. Did you play other sports?
Yeah, basketball, golf, baseball, all growing up. Yeah.
Okay. Aside from golf, the other ones are going to have everything's reactionary, right? There's not, you don't get to think about what you want to do. You have to respond to the stimulus of what's happening game time. And that's an advantage because you have no choice but to trust your training. You don't have the ability to say, okay, well, this ball landed just like this. So I think I could do that. But what I could do is this. But what I could, that's not an option when you're playing basketball, right? It's just, you're just doing what you've trained yourself to do. And the only time there is going to be time to think is in a free throw situation. And we know how that impacts some of the best players in the world, right? It changes their ability to shoot. So we're trying to simulate that as much as possible. We need to have automatic responses. Then there's times when either because of where we're at in the game, point-wise, or because of the way the bags are landed, that we do have to stop and say, okay, let me assess what's happening and make an informed decision. But that should be 5% of the game, 10% of the game, right? Like you really want to have, I'm making up percentages. I don't really know if that's what it is, but you want to have as much just, this is what I do, unless something stops me and actually requires deep analysis. but the deep analysis does not serve you for the majority of the game. You need to be in that same state in other sports where you're just, I'm here in the game now, and all I can do is trust what I've trained my body to do, and there's no time to analyze and to think. It seems like it'd be beneficial to analyze and think, but it's not. I'm sure you've seen that in other sports.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so don't think, just throw.
I
I
mean, that's
mean,
easy to
as
say,
stupid as it sounds, yeah, just okay.
but that comes in practice too, right? So that's another thing you could use your local nights for, right? You could use those local nights as a way to develop your automatic reactions. Don't let yourself think. The stakes are much lower. So let's say your opponent's bag's off to the left and you're on the right. And it's like, okay, you can even kind of tell yourself, okay, if the bag's to the left and I'm on the right, I'm going to X. And let's just say afterwards, you're like, that was the wrong decision. Okay, well then I'm going to Y or I'm going to Z, whatever. And start to build just, okay, what do I do? So, and this is where your style comes into play, right? Like for me, as someone who doesn't have a strong game, if there's a bag in front of the hole, have I done a push? Of course, but is my percentage good? No. So automatic back block for me. For some reason, that's an easier shot. I know that's not everyone's easier shot,
Right.
but it is for me. And so it's like, I don't think. It's like, just there's a bag in front of the hole, I back block. And so that as much as you can do that, and then it always throws me off when I have like a partner who's like airmail. I'm like, wait, sorry, what? Like, hold on a second. I was all ready to back block. I know, but I will listen to my partner and consider their opinion. And obviously that is even more imperative when it's a consistent partner, your actual partner.
Right.
You guys will have a better, rapport and know how to talk to each other. But when you have random partners, it's like you're getting to know each other.
Right. So in that instance, kind of along the same, if, like you said, I throw a blocker, the next person throws a blocker, and my instinct is like, you know what, I think I can cut around that right to left. But I asked Zimmy, what do you want? And he goes, I'd shoot it. Do I go with my first instinct or do I appease my partner? Because I have confidence in an airmail. It's just not my first shot. Depending on where the bags are, I might be like, I think I can collect this. But is it, and again, maybe there's a percentage, maybe there's not. Is it better to go with your first instinct as, okay, I should cut this? Or is it, you know what, my partner, he's right there so he can see. So maybe he's like, you have a lot more room than you think. What would you suggest, or what do you think
it depends how confident you are in your shot calling at that moment, which is going to be moment to moment. Like if you're like, oh, every time the bags look like that, I cut, and whatever percentage of the time it goes well for me. Like, and that's, know that that's my best option. Ignore anything from anyone else.
Gotcha.
And I wouldn't even leave time for a conversation at that point. Don't even invite it. Cause you're like, I know what every time I watch matches and I'm calling matches and I see you only see it in doubles and you see the person's cooking, right? They're in their rhythm. And then maybe even it's like a shot they've already done a couple times. And then for whatever reason, that same thing happens and they pause and ask their partner, what should I do? I'm like, what are you doing?
Right.
Like, you just stay in your rhythm. Like, you had it. You've already done that shot. Like, why are we all of a sudden inviting, why are we second guessing ourselves and inviting conversation? Go with your rhythm as much as humanly possible. You're not going to hit it every time. It's okay if you're like confident in your cut and it doesn't work. That's fine. You're human. You're not going to hit 100% of them. But there's like a super important phrase that basically will allow your nervous system to go into a really helpful state, a challenge state in a stressful environment versus a threat state when everything goes wrong. And that sentence is, I can handle this. And so it's so important that whatever shot you take, you have that belief. I can handle this. So I can do this. I can execute. I've got this. When you've played other sports, like you said basketball, right?
Yep.
And when you played basketball, were you ever the guy that was like, I want the ball when there's 2 seconds left at the 3-point line or whatever that equivalent is? Like, are you that guy that's like, I want it when it matters?
Usually at basketball, I never was. Interesting enough. No.
Why do you think that is?
Probably because I wasn't the best shooter and I knew there were probably 3 or 4 other people I'd want them to be in that situation
Is there
other than myself.
yeah, is there an example of somewhere else where you do take that energy on?
Oh, I mean, stupid to say, like golf or even cornhole golf. You know, if we're at a doing a scramble or an outing or something like that, and like the putt needs to go, it's like, yeah, you know, put the ball in my hand. I got this. I got
Yeah.
the read.
Right.
Whatever the case is. Or
Yeah.
if I see bags hanging there and it's like, oh, I'm gonna make them clap. I always say I love that. More than one bag on the hole, I just know I'm gonna make it clap. And you know, I don't even think about it. I just shoot it and
Yeah.
let it happen. I love that feeling or having to hit a shot in order to keep a match going or in order to, you know, limit damage, whatever the case is. That I love. I
The
absolutely love it.
feeling is the feeling you want to have as much as possible. And we're talking about big shots or pressure shots.
Okay.
Absolutely, open board slide. You're in a rhythm. It's like if the board is open and you're sliding and you're not doing blocking and stuff, it's the equivalent of like going on a long run, doing like laps in the pool, like where you just lock in, you're in tunnel vision.
Mm-hmm.
I don't experience this running, but I know other people do. Like we are just in pure bliss. Like I'm in pure agony, but I know people really like it. And they go to like this other world and they're just in heaven. They're like just in their bodies. They're fully present. It's just feet on the ground, just going forward. And it's this really amazing experience. To
Perfect.
me, if as much as you can create that feeling, even if there's some traffic in front of the hole, but like you have your automatic, like, oh yeah, no, slightly to the left, no problem. I just, go right over it or whatever. Like, so you're trying to create that rhythm. And then when it comes to big shots, when you have to pause and make a decision. So like you mentioned earlier, like, what do I do if I want to cut? My partner wants me to air mill, whichever one's going to give you that feeling, the give me the ball at the last moment, that feeling is what you do, because that's the I can handle it. That's the give it to me. I've got this. And when it comes to bigger shots, that's the state you have to be in. You can't be in the doubt. There's the famous moment when AJ Sims and Braden Wilson come together on the broadcast to talk about, Braden had to make the shot. And he's like, what do I do? And AJ says, like, what you've done a million times. And and then he said, no matter what happens, I still love you. Like there was that moment. And then for whatever reason, because of their partnership, that made Braden feel like, I got this, because he combined with, you've done this a million times. What are you even questioning? Like, this is your shot. And I'm still going to love you. It doesn't change how I feel about you. Like we're still, partners in this. And that allowed Braden to walk over to the board and switch on that, give me the high pressure shot. I've got this. That's why it worked. So it's kind of like those two states that you're trying to elicit, is like the locked in, I'm just in the zone and I don't really notice anything else. And even if your partner's yelling airmail, you're like, no, I'm in it. I'm in rhythm. I don't even need to ask. I've got this. And then the moments when you do truly have to say, like, okay, what the heck's going on over there? What should I do? And you have a conversation and then you do whatever. And don't release that bag until you feel that feeling. If you need to take a second time out, whatever it takes, do what it takes to feel, I got this.
Okay. Got it.
That's going to eliminate the questioning as you're releasing, which I know we all do. Like,
100%.
do I airmail or do I roll? Oh no, it's gone.
Yes, yeah. It never fails. At least one a night. 100%.
Oops. Just don't throw the bag in that place.
Fair enough.
Make a decision one way or the other, and whatever you can. You'll hear partners say whatever you're confident in. That's essentially what they're saying.
Okay.
Whatever you feel like you can execute. But I'm a big believer that do not ask your partner for a shot recommendation unless you truly need it. And if you're the partner being asked and your partner says, what do I need to do? Don't say whatever feels right. They're actually asking your opinion. If they were asking, whatever feels right, they don't need to ask you. They'll just do whatever feels right. So that's like partner dynamics. But if I had a partner, I would tell them like, hey, I'm not going to ask you if I'm confident in what I'm doing. And if your answer would be do what feels right, I'm not asking you. So if I'm asking you, I actually need your input. I need to see what your brain is telling you to see if it's, better or different than what my brain's telling me, because I don't have a clear answer in that moment.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think that's part of partner dynamics, but I think it's an important one.
Love it.
So that would be some of the doubles. I mean, that would come up in single, not the partner stuff, but the other stuff comes up in singles as well, is just really being in that state where you know you can execute. So what are the things that move you out of, since you've experienced that state, what are the things that move you out of that place where you're not feeling either in rhythm, locked in, you're just sliding bags in and automating your shots, and or got to hit that big shot? Like, what are the things that get in the way of those two states?
I think productivity earlier on in my round. For instance, there are some days when I'm like, every airmail I throw is short. It hits their bag in, it trampolines off, and it's like a 6-point swing, just like
Yeah.
that. So then there will be an instance where it's like, man, shoot it, go up. And it's like, the last 7 I threw were short. I go off and their bag goes, like, I almost want to name it after myself because that's what I do so often. But then there's this mentality of me, like, when like Steph Curry, when he's in a slump, what is it? Shoot or shoot. They're just going to they're going to shoot themselves out of it. So in my mind, it's like, okay, maybe I should, but then it's circumstantial. It's like, well, if we have a really chance of win, maybe I just board, give up the 3, whatever the case is, and then go from there. But then that doesn't really help me physically or mentally, because it's like, all right, I'm just boarding for 5. It's an 8-on-5, blah, blah, blah. And I had an opportunity to go in to get points or whatever the case is. And it's really depleting. And then trying to get off of that low, or trying to switch it back on
Yeah.
when, and it's not just the airmail. Maybe it is my cut shot because the boards are extra tacky. So normally I throw it this far up the board and it cuts perfectly. Now I'm throwing it here and it's cutting way before the hole. It's like, so what is going on? Trying to get off of that low point. I'm a fan of like the timeouts. I tend to use that to try to ice, more or less, if people are on heaters, try to ice them, then get myself. But the reset is, once it just kind of goes down, I normally stay down, as opposed to if I might start 12-10, but then if I go 6-7-5, then it's like, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And it never seems to go back up to 10-10-10-12, or it's kind of 8-8-8-7-8, and it just never gets above that low point. And so there's, if the game continues that long and I'm really in it, I don't kind of know how. It's like quicksand. I really don't know how to get out of it. And it seems the more I try to, well, maybe it is my my mechanics. No, it's just mental. Just throw it. Well, he's again. I'm all of these are going through my head while I'm trying to play, and trying to flip it around just does not seem to work.
Well, I would definitely make like a pact with yourself that everything you just explained, you give me words, but it creates a feeling in the body. So whatever that feeling is, however you would describe that feeling, never throw a bag from that state.
Okay.
So it's like, that feeling, right? When you're like, shit, I'm like in it. I'm at the low. There's no reason there's nothing that's good, no good that's going to come from throwing a bag from there. Now, so that means that you need to take a timeout if you don't have enough time to reset in the 12, 15 seconds or whatever. But definitely make a pact that, like, why would I throw a bag from this state, right? Like, that's crazy. That's like seeing someone like walking like, dude, I hate my life. I mean, like, are you ready to like compete at the highest level? Yeah. Like, no. like if you could even picture yourself in that moment as like a child, just like grumpy and like and they're like, all right, Joe, hit the shot. Like, no, you're not gonna do it. Your state has completely shifted, and there's just nothing productive that's going to come from there. And I know we think, well, if I just throw this freaking bag in, that would be a really big help for my state, but you can't throw the bag in when you're in that state. So it's like you have to reset, and the reset is not necessarily effective for people if they don't rep it enough, right? You have to know, you have to know in your mind that I'm not afraid to be in that low moment because I have a reset that works. And so I'm not afraid to hit it because I know I can pull myself right out of it. You're going to hit it. I shouldn't even say you're not afraid of it. You are going to hit those moments. You are not an athlete, competitor, performer without having lows. You are going to have a low pretty much every time you play. There's going to be something that doesn't go your way. So we can't try to avoid it. And we definitely can't pretend we don't feel the way we feel in that moment. And we definitely don't want to throw or perform from that place. That's why you have to have a reset. So you talked about Steph Curry, if he's missing his shots, the difference is, I mean, I don't know him, I don't work with him, but the difference is that I'm assuming is that he has a reset that could take 3 seconds. And he's moves into, remember I talked about the 2 states, the threat versus the challenge response. He has some kind of reset that shifts him from, this is a threat, I can't do this, I'm sucking, this isn't going well for me, to I can handle this, I've got this. And whatever that reset is, happens for these types of players, especially elite athletes, in seconds. It happens for the very top pros in cornhole in seconds. You can watch it. Logan Chamberlain was a great example of this. Well, I don't remember what event that was, but it was recent, where he wasn't throwing like himself.
Is it Kansas?
It wasn't this event. No, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. But he was not throwing like himself. I remember like going, what is going on? Like he threw like a 7-point something in that game. And I didn't watch his next game, but I was watching his stats because I was so curious. Could he bounce back? And he threw an 11-point something the next game. I'm like, that's a reset, right? That's most people. If you're Logan Chamberlain throwing as well as he throws, and you throw in the 7s,
right,
like, that could derail you for the rest of the year.
100%, right.
But he had the reset. So those lows are inevitable. You have to expect them. You can't be afraid of them, and you can't avoid them. You just have to have confidence in your reset. The same way you're confident that you can slide a bag in when you're in your ideal state, the same way that you want to make it clap when you have to, like that feeling, you have to have that confidence in your reset. So what are you doing for a reset?
I usually just slap my leg. I have no reset. I mean, like I said, if there's a timeout, maybe a quick drink of water, or I'll casually walk down to the board. And sometimes my partner's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm just making sure their bag went in the hole. And then I see it in the hole, and then I walk back, just trying to get my mind off, the fact that I front boarded the last one, or, whatever the case is. So I don't, I guess, really have a consistent reset.
You gotta have like a repeatable, it
right.
looks exactly the same, it creates the same output. So let's come off of cornhole for a moment. Sure. In life, when you're having like a bad day, or you're having a bad moment, maybe you're in the middle of a work day and it's like, man, something's not working. If you could think of any example in which you feel somewhat similar, I know it's not exactly the same, and what do you do to shift that state when you need to, outside of cornhole?
Yeah, I mean, I just go for a little walk and try to clear my mind.
And what happens on that walk? Are you having a conversation with yourself? Are you like, what are you doing?
No, I literally do nothing, just to not think about that or stress because the walk is to get away from what's upsetting me. So if I take that with me, I might as well be sitting at my desk and talking it out to myself.
How do you do that? You, as someone who's so heady, how are you succeeding at blocking all that out and literally just walking?
I'll see something. I'll see my dog, and then I'll focus. I'll pay attention to my dog. Or if I'm listening to music or something like that, a song will come on, and I'll just engulf myself in that song for the 3 minutes, 40 seconds, whatever it is. And I don't know. I just do it. So I don't know if that is simple as is that the answer? Just
it is. It's called orienting, and it's a nervous system trick.
Okay.
So what you're doing is very intelligent. So here's the cool thing about how the nervous system works is everything you're asking me, your body actually knows how to do already for you innately. It's just that we never let it. Like, for example, if you had a really bad round and you were 3 years old, you would probably jump up and down and scream, and all of what you would do without caring what you looked like, what your body guided you to do is exactly what needed to happen in that moment. And as a 3-year-old, you would do it and then you'd be fine afterwards. So unfortunately, we don't really do that, and we get in the way of the nervous system loop, right? So your nervous system gets triggered, and you go into a threat response, fight, flight, freeze, and then what would normally happen to complete the loop, which would happen fairly quickly, doesn't happen, and you just get stuck, and so you never get out of the loop. And then you're in the threat response and you're stuck in it, and your options are fight, flight, or freeze. In cornhole, what does that look like? It means throw the bags, punch your leg, punch the wall, scream at someone. It could mean like you have to literally move. Your legs get all this weird energy. They start to shake because you're needing to flee, to run. So you're getting all this energy in your lower limbs. Or freeze. You can't let go of the bag. It goes halfway down the court, So you have all these responses, fight, flight, or freeze. But if we didn't edit ourselves, our body would naturally go through that nervous system loop and we come out the other side. So we're at this point as adults, we've been editing that for so long that we don't even know what that looks or feels like. And it almost becomes impossible to let our body do whatever it wants to do naturally. So we do kind of have to help it with some tools. So orienting is a way to become present without having to be present in the body where there's the threat response and everything feels really awful. Ideally you could just focus on your breath and come into your body, and that would bring you the present moment. But if it's super stimulated in there, that's kind of the last place you want to be. You're like, I don't want to go in there. It's chaos. So we use orienting, which brings you into the room. And it also, if you do orienting and you're moving your head around, there's a lot of research that supports that the way we move our head kind of triggers the limbic system in a different way. And there's all this neuroscience stuff to it as well. So orienting is literally just looking around the room and pointing out what you see. I see that person with the red shirt. I see that yellow bag. I see that cornhole board with the such and such logo. I see the beer cart over there. You could do it just that open. You could do rainbow orienting, looking for something red, looking for something orange, looking for something yellow. And essentially you're just in a few seconds, you're coming out of your crazy town and just into the room. Like this threat is not actually happening. There is no true threat. It is a perceived threat. It's happening within your own body and head. And so you're just exiting it for a moment and you're realizing like, I'm in a cornhole room. There's a famous line that I say famous because I said it to someone I was coaching and they brought it up on a live stream, that there is no bear. Right? If your body is acting like a bear is chasing you in that moment, but there's no bear. So you kind of come into the room like, okay, I'm just at a cornhole tournament and like there's actually nothing threatening happening at all. I'm completely safe and there's no bear, not being chased. And so that's orienting. So what you talked about on your walk, noticing the dog, the flowers, the trees, that's orienting, right? That you're doing a lot easier in nature, I will say, than when you're in the environment that triggered the response in the first place. So you could do that fairly quickly. Orienting, that's kind of your get out of the head body. But then in order to throw, you have to get back in the body, right? So you do need to feel clear of that threat in some way. And this is where something physical usually has to happen, whether it's like you shake your hands or you jump up and down or you do a circle, or you're basically just moving you're discharging the energy or the threat. And then you need something to bring you back into the body. So that could be a deep breath. It could be bringing your shoulders up to your ears, dropping it all down. It could be a mantra. I've got this, whatever's powerful to you. But it needs to be a sequence of things that happens very quickly and that is repeatable and that you do every single time and that you practice and that you can depend on to know, doesn't matter if I get low, I got a reset technique. It works every time.
Got it. The duration of it, because again, especially in doubles, you have a little bit of time, in between when your partner throws. Singles, I guess maybe if you're walking down after you input the score, you can kind of do that a little bit too.
If I was walking, I'd be shaking. I would be kicking, whatever you got to do, like just get it out.
Right. Whilst I guess, because my thing too is like, obviously I don't want, if I'm down, probably externally, my partner is able to see that. So I need to do my reset, but at the same time, I need to be there for him, whether it's vocally, or, obviously keeping track of the score, different things like that. So I mean, are you talking like it's like a 5-second thing? Or I mean,
Mhm.
not to put like I don't want to
Yeah.
think too much on what I should be thinking about, as far as, but like, I mean, we talking just like you said, just like a quick one punch thing that's like, okay, ready to go, reset, you know, just kind of
Yeah.
start
I like
over, or
quick, 5
um,
seconds. It could be pick out 2 things you see in the room, shake out my hands. I've got this. Deep breath.
something
Literally.
simple. Okay.
Seconds. Yeah, seconds. And this is where you're going to have to practice. Another thing you can use your local nights for is practicing your resets. So it's like, okay, what did that work? Was that effective? Um, you might need a more powerful statement. You might need a more intentional breathing technique. You might need more time in the beginning to build it. But you have to have a reset. Think about Steph Curry. He did a reset, I'm sure, between those the misses and then the hitting of the shot. I'm sure that reset technique was seconds. Um,
Right.
and he had to do it mid game while in motion, right? So I'm sure
Right.
like I said, I'm guessing, but I'd imagine there'd be some kind of conversation of like, deep breath, you got this, or something. There's something. I mean, his sport is physical, so he's fortunately able to discharge it quite easily because he's already running. So that does
Right. Right.
help.
Right. Right.
If you're
Okay.
talking about, in the animal world, and a deer's being chased by a bear, and so it's running, it's in fight or flight. Well, it's in flee. It knows it can't fight, so it's fleeing. That is what the nervous system is asking it to do, is to run. So it's following what the body's asking it to do. There is a true threat. So it's threat, flee. It gets away from the experience. It shakes, and this is shown in nature. It'll shake, and then it goes back to hanging out and drinking water. No big deal. It doesn't even, that experience doesn't even exist anymore for them. And that's because
That's
the nervous system loop completes, right? So it's like I bleed. Well, I
yeah.
ran. So my nervous system asked me to run. So I ran, check, right? And then I discharged the energy that I just revved up in my body, check, and now I'm done. Cornhole, A, there's no real threat, so that's not even real. B, you
Right.
can't fight, flight, or freeze. And then C, you don't discharge the energy. So now you're just a ball of a nervous system threat,
Got it. Got it.
essentially.
Okay. No, that's perfect. Because the other thing too that is trying to have that short memory. So my first bag is a whoopsie front board, and then you make the next 3 and you get a 9. Yeah, that's like, to me, that's a good recovery. But there's also like, bruh, if you just threw the first bag like those last 3, it's a 12. And but it's like that shouldn't matter, but that still lingers there. So it's
Why does
like
it linger there for you? Are you really expecting to put every bag in the hole every time you throw?
at least hit the board. I mean, I get like that happens, but yeah, I guess it's
You didn't try to
if the
front
other
board
three,
it.
if the no right, well, yeah, sometimes they work. Sometimes the guy will front board too with me, and we feel great. But no, I guess it's just, well, the last 3 went in the way I've practiced.
Didn't you effort it the
Why did
same?
I have that? Why did that first bag lapse?
You'll go crazy trying to analyze that. Did you not
Okay,
effort the same? Did you not care about that first bag like you did the last 3? I'm sure you cared. Or you're
yeah,
prepared the same. Your efforts the same. You cared the same. It just shit happens.
okay,
Do you
shit
know what I mean? The
happens. You're
only
right.
time you can truly be mad is if you're like, I didn't even try. Like,
Okay,
well, why did
that's
I do
fair.
that? Why didn't I
Yeah.
try? But you're always trying. That's why I don't believe in the my bad from your partner. You should never say my bad. Did you try to throw it off? Did you try to throw shitty?
I say that all the time too.
But is it like, you
Wow.
can only say my bad? I always say this. You can only say my bad if you didn't care or didn't try. If you're not preparing, and this is not true for local nights because that's not what that's for, but in bigger events, like if you're like, I just didn't practice at all, I could give 2 shits, then say my
Right.
bad. If you don't care, don't try, my bad. If you're too drunk, my bad. Those are the only 3 times you could say my bad. You're like, shit, I messed up. Like, I shouldn't have drank so much. Or, man, I really should have practiced more. Like, I just didn't put enough into my preparation coming in here. Or, I'm not going to lie, my brain was somewhere else and I just didn't care if that bag went in. Like, those are the only 3 times. Every other time, you freaking always trying to put the bags in the hole. So if they didn't go, it was completely out of your control. All you can do is learn from it, but you can't learn from it if you're spiraling into why did this happen? The analyzing process cannot happen mid-game. That is not going to go well. So there's nothing that needs to be happening cognitively there. And then if you truly do want to analyze your footage post-tournament, not post-game, post-tournament, then that needs to happen in a way that is with a lot of grace. It's like, I know I tried my very best. So whatever I'm about to watch right now, I have to give myself a lot of kindness and say, this is the best I could do at that moment. And can I learn from it? Absolutely. Let's watch it and just see where are things that I can take away for the next time. Maybe I could do something differently. Maybe not. Maybe it's just the way the bags landed that day. But once you're in a tournament, that just like your other sports, you have to rely on your training. That's where you just trust. It's not the time to analyze. It's not the time for all that cognitive activity that you would do. I think I guess you could say at halftime and football, and they do watch film and stuff, but that's a pretty significant amount of time that they get to do that.
Right.
And it's also led by a coach. So it's not you beating yourself up. It's someone leading who hopefully has enough experience to know how to lead that conversation so that it creates more productivity, not a bunch of people beating themselves up and thinking about what happened in the first half.
Gotcha. No, that's so good. I'll erase that. That won't even be in my vocabulary tonight. I will use that as practice. If I throw a 10 instead of a 12 because the fourth bag decides it wants to be a blocker instead of go in, enter a 10, go from there.
I laugh. I either shrug my shoulders or I laugh. I'm like,
okay,
that's not what I was trying to do.
Right. Okay.
That's what happened, but it's not what I was trying to do.
No, it's so simple. And I like switching because I like taking tonight. I'm throwing at a region or at a local Friday. I'm also doing the same because I have a regional on the 11th. So that's kind of just going to be the prep work for that. And then later at the end of the month will be the open and will be the prep work for that. And I like taking because it's $10 cornhole or it's $15 cornhole, whatever you're paying. Now, part of me is like, if I'm paying $10, I want to win. I want to do that. But at the same time,
it's reps though.
Yes.
No matter
and
what.
that's how I need to approach it. And that's how I go in there to, like I said, Joe's here. We have, he's going to be finished at the top. Like that's always been my mentality. And that can still be the case, but it has to be based on how I am, my personal goals and nothing else.
You have to let go of what people could possibly perceive.
Okay.
There's just no way to control. Let's just say that you go in and you take my advice and you do a fun night, right? But you don't tell everybody like I'm just having a fun night. You just do it. And let's just say, because that actually will probably be great performance for you, but let's just pretend it wasn't. Okay. And you throw in the sevens, okay, which is like for you probably abysmal, right? Like, oh my God. So let's just say that happens, right? And people are like, whoa, like what happened to Joe? Like what is he doing down here in the sevens? Like what is happening? Like you have to let go of all of that because you know what you're doing. You know why you're doing it. And it is serving you in the way that matters to you and nothing else matters. And it would actually be a really fun exercise, a really difficult exercise, not to be able to explain to anybody why. Right? This goes back to my personal training days when people would come in. I'd say, so did you do, whatever the assignment was for them to do while they were away? And they would say, no, I didn't do X, Y, and Z. And they go, because, and I wouldn't let them finish the sentence, and it would drive them absolutely insane because they want to be like, well, I had to work late. Like I literally couldn't do it. Like you have to understand. And I'm like, I don't want to hear the excuse because it's not because I'm not compassionate. It's because they won't learn and they won't grow if they validate why they didn't do something. So it's like, if I don't let them give the excuse or the reason, then that's so physically uncomfortable that they will never do that again. They will go to any lengths to not have to sit in the discomfort of, I have to go in and say, I didn't do it, but I don't get to give a reason why. I don't get to validate why I didn't perform. And that's so
Interesting.
uncomfortable.
Yeah. No, that's so good.
And it sucks, but
So
it's a really good lesson. And that comes with feedback too. Like if somebody gives me feedback, I'm not perfect. I try really hard never to give a response other than thank you. I'll remember that or something, but not like, well, what happened was blah, blah, blah,
right.
blah, blah, blah. So I have to sit in the like, this is just feedback. You can handle it and you're not going to grow unless you sit in the discomfort of it. So you never do that again.
100%. That's good.
So
No,
that's
that's good.
part of the discomfort of the human experience.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's fantastic.
But I
All good stuff.
guarantee if you throw really poorly, let's just say, and let's just say it was one of the nights where you're like, I'm just having fun. I'm going to have a few beers and I don't really care. And you are happy. You're smiling. You're thriving. I doubt anybody is even going to question what's happening. You know what I mean? It's only if you're sulking in the corner, throwing bags, pissed off, that they're gonna be like, what's going on, dude? You're throwing like shit. But if
Right.
you're just like happy, like you're like, hey, who needs a beer? And blah, blah, blah. And like, I'm just doing my thing. I'm having a blast. And you get a new partner and you're like, come on, you can do it. And you're just having a great time. Like, no one's even going to think twice about any of that.
Right. Right. Okay.
So you create your experience and you decide the kind of experience you want to have. So if you want to have a super competitive night, you're going to compete with just yourself. And nothing else that anybody says or acknowledges or experience or perceives matters anyway, because you're only competing with you. And you're on your own little journey doing what maybe that night you're practicing your breathing techniques. You're not even worrying about what's happening to the boards, So you're like, I'm just practicing my breathing. Nobody needs to know that, but that's what you're doing because that's one thing you
Right.
need to work on. So you choose what you're building within yourself and nobody else has to know, and you do your thing, and then you learn from it and you grow. And then when it comes to regionals and opens, you let all that go. You say, I trust my training. I trust myself. There's no more for me to do here. I just have to show up and see how it goes. It's not the time to analyze, and it's not the time to question whether or not it's enough or why I did this or that. It's like, that was what my training prepared me for. And if it wasn't enough, then I go back when I go home and I get to work and I fix that for the next time. But you just accept your fate for that tournament of everything you've done up to that point.
Perfect. No, that's good. Awesome. Yeah, because I know I had also mentioned if I were to film and you have you watch it because you might be able to see whether it's a body language or whether hey, is this your reset? Because I noticed after this round you did this A, B, and C. Is that cool if I save that for the regional? So
Yeah.
obviously, Wednesday nights, Thursday night, Friday nights, just local. I still practice these. However, whenever it comes to the regional,
Yeah.
that way I have some sort of record of it. I can watch myself, see if I really did follow through with what I said my reset was going to be, or the
Yep.
breathing that I wanted to do, and then kind of go from there and build off that. Does that sound like a
Yeah.
game plan up? Okay, perfect.
Completely, because you really want to see how much you can lock into the flow state in those big tournaments, and you really want to make sure that you're able to weave in and out of that flow state easily. So it needs to be flexible. It's not that
Okay.
you're meant to lock into the flow state for the entire day. That would be exhausting. It's just that you're not afraid to dip out of the flow state because you can easily get right back in it. Most people don't even know how they get to the flow state. That's why everything's so threatening. It's like, well, I don't even know how I got there in the first place. How am I going to get back? But if you intentionally put yourself in the flow state and you know how to do that, then you're not afraid to have a low moment. You're like, I'll just get back in it. No big deal. And then,
Gotcha.
like I said, have some times when you initiate the play state where it's just for fun. It's light. You still perform well in play state for the record. I only operate in the play state. I never do flow state for cornhole. That's just not where I practice that technique in my
Right.
life. And so I'm always in the play state, and I will still have, so my average is like a 6.2, but I'll have
Yeah.
games where I'll throw in an 8.5 randomly, and I'm in the play state. So like, it's not like you have to be in the flow state to have your best experience, but once you get to the end of the bracket, you do need that state. You need to know how to get into it. So, it's just practice being there and getting in there and weaving in and out of it and having flexibility there, and then have some fun and do some play state things, even if it's just in your backyard with friends, but like just have those moments where you know how to turn the competition off. Be a flexible human that way.
Gotcha. Perfect.
Yeah. All right, Joe, I think that's good. That was a lot. That's like that was a lot to work on for one session. So, take what really connects and let go of what doesn't. Like, don't try to take everything on, right? Take the pieces that you're like, okay, this is what I really want to focus on, and then let everything else go.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. I got my stickies. I'm actually going to put those in my pocket. So when I go and during a round or something, I'll pull it out and be like, oh yeah, don't forget to breathe. Okay. Yeah. She said to breathe.
Good. I love
it. I'm gonna look for something red, and
Mhm.
just to, and again, try to see what works, see what doesn't work. And then by the next time when we reconvene, I'll be able to hopefully tell you, okay, going into the regional on the 11th, this is what I've prepped, and this is what I'm going to continue to prepare up until the blind draw on Friday, regional, and then we have a state team event on Saturday. So there's going to be a lot of people, Ohio, West Virginia, New York, PA, for going to be in. So it'll be a good one to be able to practice the reps there for sure.
Okay. And just remember, when you're trying on new things, to stay in that witness curiosity state. So this is just a ton of awareness. It's like every time you're practicing something or something's not going your way, I like the phrase, that's interesting. That's interesting. I wonder why. That's interesting. It's just you're witnessing. You're not judging. We're just like watching ourselves practice new things. And so it's like, oh, kind of like when you first started throwing a bag and it went to missed the board to the left. You're like, oh, okay, that's not where I intended for that to. That's interesting that it went over there. Kind of that lighthearted, instead of like, oh my God, I'm the worst human, I suck at this. Like, that would be a judgment response. But that's interesting. As I'm trying on this new thing, I'm noticing this. I'm noticing that. Just awareness.
Interesting.
Let it just be in that playful state if you can, especially because you're, like I said, you're learning something brand new, essentially. So let it be that. All right, Joe,
Yes,
keep in touch on Boxer in between our sessions as always. And for everyone watching, hopefully this is helpful. If you have questions, drop them in the comments. If you want to coach with me, I do have a coaching program going right now that you can do what Joe gets with the Boxer support. And that is available at cornholemeesh.com/coaching. And it's 75% off while we do this show, so that everybody can experience what Joe gets, but individually. All right, guys, until next time.